The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh, got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throb in my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too feeble and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Podcast, coming to you February 6th, 2024. I am back after a week and a half, and look who else is back with me. That guy.
Who's back in the mother-loving house.
That's right, man.
I won't say what I have for your so-and-so. We don't want to relive that part of the lyrics.
First podcast for me in, I would say, 12 days. You guys follow me on social media. You guys probably saw that I had a little bit of a health scare, which I'll tackle on that on a future podcast. I'm probably recording today, a solo podcast. I'll touch on that. What happened with me there? We'll do that later.
Yeah, because I obviously don't give a shit, is what EJ's.
We already talked on off the air with the shit. You know what's going on. Kyle Nash, student of the game. We're getting close to the end of the year here, man. And I don't know if you see the title of today's show. I don't know if you noticed the title of today's show. That's your boys are in the Super Bowl.
I don't even see. I take exception to that only because it just cheapens so many of the other great things that are on that Chiefs team. And frankly, it annoys me the ire that the Chiefs draw. Like, it's one thing to make villains and play the Imperial March when anybody mentions those Patriots involving Emperor Hoodie and Darth Brady, right? Because the term repeat offender is accurately applied to that franchise during that tenure. Right? Belichick, not exactly a likable dude. Brady, frustrating in that 1 minute. He's like, oh, shucks, I'm Tom on the mic, and then yells at his own team.
Yeah.
In a way that Dan Marino would even say, chill the F out. Like, how do you get angry at a guy who looks like the Kool-Aid man in Andy Reid, a guy who's so friendly, his voice and presentation remind people of Kermit the Frog, and Travis Kelce, whose only crimes is, hating him because you ain't him. You've seen the New Heights podcast. I have no problem endorsing he and his brother Jason Daniel Kelce, and how much fun they have. So, fun-loving Kermit the Frog and the Kool-Aid Man, and you're going to talk trash on these guys. I don't get it.
Neither do I. So, before we get into this, we didn't plan for this actually, but I just remembered because we took a week off because of my situation. We still got to grade the eliminated teams from championship weekend.
You don't hear me complaining.
So we'll go there quickly before we get to some of the Super Bowl superlatives and whatnot, because we do got a game played. By the way, the title of the show, it's Kyle's team versus Taylor's team, because Kyle, yes, journalist extraordinaire, the whole nine, but he is at heart a diehard Niners fan.
First, let's be clear. I was born that because Montana was drafted the same year I was born. Second, I don't use the J word to describe me, so I want the record to show that.
What, journalist?
Yeah.
What should we call you then?
I prefer to refer to myself as an analyst. I won't stop from saying journalist.
So use the A word.
I will listen.
That's not asshole.
Well, I leave that role to you. This is your show. So
that's right. You know how this works. All right. So before we tackle all those superlatives, something we should have done last week, we couldn't for obvious reasons. We're going to go and touch on the two eliminated teams from the championship weekend. Give the final letter grades for the year. Let's start here first. The Baltimore Ravens, obviously 13-4 this year. AFC title game, of course, losing to the Chiefs. What's the grade for them?
I'm going to give them an A. Listen, the only reason why they don't have an A+ is because as much as people refuse to accept this as fact, and by people I mean specifically Nick Wright, biggest Chiefs fan in the nation, they shot themselves in the foot.
They did.
With everybody focuses on the Ravens only scared. Scared is an element. More on that later. They scored only 10 points, and that is a very fair criticism. Can we please stop pretending that the Chiefs scored more than 17? Can we stop? By the way, only scoring 17 points while winning the turnover battle 3-1. No one's talking about that the Chiefs only scored 17 points despite winning the turnover battle 3-1. Did I say it twice? Yeah. The second one was for the people in the back, including Nick effing Wright. I said it. That all being said, that's that Ravens defense showing up and doing its thing. Whereas the Ravens offense was moving the ball, was still very much in the game despite losing the turnover battle 3-1, with 2 of those turnovers specifically occurring in the end zone. Right?
Yeah.
So, which, by the way, where's the energy from this is the stupidest rule in the sport or in sports club defending Zay Flowers as hard as they came to back the Chiefs? Where's that energy, EJ Christian? Am I unfair asking for that same energy?
No, you're not. Not at all.
Well, here's a big old satchel of Richards for those people. And no, Jim, this isn't me referring to you necessarily. Okay, settle down. I know you're listening, you hippie. But
so who gets most blame for the loss, you think, for the Ravens?
Me? I put it squarely on coaching. I do. For my money, I know the simple thing is to say, well, they should have run the ball more. And there's some there. I think the reason that I'm coming down on the coaching group isn't so much that they didn't run the ball more, is that they allowed, and for all the trash talk I've done of Nick Wright, and is playfully, of course, in this point here, there's one thing he's got absolutely right. The Brady mystique has possessed, or is now possessed by, I should say, Patrick Lavon Mahomes II.
Correct.
The soon-to-be GOAT. Wait, so the STB GOAT, right?
Yeah.
Of course, if you. Well, actually, the STB GOAT is the perfect wording, because I think he's about to surpass Joseph Clifford, Montana. So I say all that to say this. Teams are now afraid of what Patrick Lavon Mahomes II could do in a small amount of time, and rightly so. I think that was the big part of it. They allowed themselves to get intimidated. Like, please keep in mind, in comparison to the 49ers and the Lions, more on them later, but the 49ers run pass ratio perfectly balanced despite being down 17 points specifically in the first half, but they still stayed loyal to running the football. They still stayed loyal to balanced offense. The quarterback did enough to save them, which I can make the argument that everybody has overanalyzed and rightly criticized Lamar Demetrius Jackson's interception. Terrible decision. He could have told you the same thing. Just look at his response after he made the throw in question. Okay. He was annoyed that Odell Beckham Jr. had a Chief draped on his back. There was no call on what would have been, I believe at the time, a tying score. And then I think that nuisance got into his head, as well as his recent playoff performances, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fair or not, I think all that got in his head, and he tried to force a throw. That really wasn't a bad decision, but the timing was bad. That throw came so late, it made the decision bad.
So a couple of people I was talking to this week, post game, saying that Lamar Jackson's coddled by the media. You agree with that assessment?
Hell no. Are you shitting me?
Thank you.
What moron said that? And please never give them a platform, okay? No, actually, by saying what moron is that, don't tell me their name. A, I will eviscerate them, and B, they don't deserve the platform. Like, are you shitting me? This is the guy that's had to battle with I'm not a running back for how many fucking years? What are we doing right now? This is a guy who is a sure injury risk. It's one of few times I've seen this much noise out there supporting a franchise in a contract dispute with a player.
I think the only reason why I agree 100% with what you said. Number one, the only reason why I feel like that comment was probably made was because of the fact that we do have folks that overcorrect a lot. Like we know the narrative is bad, so the people who disagree with the narrative has to go the polar opposite side of it now and protect them.
I think what you're getting. Let me add this too, because you're big on talking politics. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think
it's okay.
Addressed like there's a lot of people that back Lamar Demetrius Jackson for political reasons, specifically because of the color of skin.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that might be a pushback against specifically those people that do it for just that reason.
Right.
Listen, at least if you're backing a quarterback politically because he's a black quarterback, at least you picked a guy that was a good candidate this time and didn't fall into the trap of Deshaun Watson, kind of like I did, or Colin Kaepernick. This is an actual good quarterback. And by the way, it's odd that Patrick Mahomes II doesn't get that same support, but hey, listen, politics is your show, not mine.
More on that later, I guess, right? I went A as well, too, for the same reasons. Like I said, they obviously did much better than I thought they did this year.
Copying Kyle's notes.
Look, you get used to it. It's been 12 years. It's been 12 years, buddy. Get used to it at this point.
I'm just asking you to be honest about it.
So I had them as a wild card team when the year started. They did more than that. They had the best record in football, in fact, this year. Again, but I think that the plus was not added because of the taste in the mouth of that last game against Kansas City.
Well,
I feel like
removed, yeah.
This is not a shot at the Chiefs. Obviously, they did their job, but it does feel like in a lot of ways the Ravens lost that game more than the Chiefs won it because of the things the Ravens did not do that they typically do on a week-to-week basis.
And also, listen, what was exposed is the youth and the lack of discipline.
That too.
The thing we're not talking enough about is the gamesmanship, not sportsmanship. I said this on the Student of the Game pod actually last week, Ernest Christian. Bing! It's not the sportsmanship, it's the gamesmanship. In that the Chiefs being a relatively more experienced team, not across the board, obviously. Rashee Rice, for example, is a very young player.
The core.
But their ability to get in their heads, to talk enough trash. Travis Kelce, for example, drawing an unsportsmanlike to extend a drive that turned, I believe, into a scoring drive. I'd have to go back and look again to double check that. But that kind of stuff not only got points, but killed drives and hurt drives alike. For example, the one that's most egregious is obviously Zay Flowers and the taunting. People aren't talking about the Chief that was grabbing onto him while he was standing up. And I'm not here to say that Zay Flowers was wrong. Maybe no Raven was air quotes wrong. You're just the guy that got caught. And what have they been saying since Pop Warner days if you're coaching? Or, hey, even me in a different sport, playing football as a youth instead of football, right? They always catch the second guy, right? So the Chiefs are smart enough to leverage that. Listen, Travis Kelce's no saint. Apparently everybody's forgotten the days where he would pick up a flag and throw it back at the ref in a playoff game about a call he didn't like, right? That's the same dude we're talking about. This is a guy. That's right. That guy, right? So for me to come up with him becoming smart enough to initiate some bull, to draw a flag on, I don't know if it was on Jadeveon Clowney. I forget who the player was.
I think it was Clowney, actually.
Okay. Well, hey, you know what? Damn sure at this point, Clowney should know the difference. And I mean, listen, were I richer, I would commission a painting of the Jadeveon Clowney hit in college. You know what I'm talking about? The one where he do in the backfield and his helmet off. I wish I had the money to commission a painting to hang right below mine. Like I'd move JJ over here, if you're looking on the video, below my jersey and put it below my Aaron Evans original.
Yeah.
Hell, if I had the money right, I'm sure Aaron Evans would be glad to recreate it. Shouts to my dude, painter extraordinaire, former UCF Knight, Philadelphia Eagle, and Orlando Apollo. But yeah, the lack of discipline overall is why in that game and that the way that they I mean, where's Denny Green? They let him off the hook, you know.
I don't want to be this guy, but I'm gonna break this topic real quick with regards to Lamar Jackson. Yes, there'll be opportunities for him to go to the Super Bowl, but I feel like this year especially was a perfect opportunity. You had, first of all, a Ravens team that's been playing probably the best year they've ever had, not named Super Bowl titles years, obviously getting hot late, whatever. You had a Chiefs team that was having in our minds, a down year. A Bengals team that was a favorite that didn't get in the playoffs. All these breaks. So my point is, well, like I said, by their definition, it felt like coming to the playoffs, the path was kind of clear for the Ravens to get this done. You beat the Niners this year. You beat the Lions this year in ways that were impressive. So it felt like the optics, like, okay, this Ravens team was like, this is streamlined to the Super Bowl. And I feel like this was probably the best opportunity for Lamar Jackson to win a Super Bowl.
It was the best opportunity. That's the best. That's the correct phrase.
I don't know, based on the environment, especially next year and years to come, that he may get a better chance to win a Super Bowl than he was this year.
Well, right. I mean, listen, the quarterback situation may still be in disarray for Cleveland, but we don't know. The quarterback situation for Pittsburgh may still be in disarray, but we don't know. We do know that one Joey Burrow will be back. Will he be the same? We honestly don't know. And they've changed offensive coordinators. So the Ravens at least have that much going for them. I don't know the rest of their schedule yet outright, but suffice it to say, I feel like there's a lot of AFC teams that got better. And what impact will another Harbaugh in the conference make? For example,
there you go. Also, you got the surging Texans now, and CJ Stroud and them boys, and you have
what they do in the draft first before we
of course. But my point is, I think the hurdles, they're going to be a lot more hurdles now moving forward. I think, to get back this opportunity again.
I'm not there yet. I think the biggest thing is obviously the return of Joey Burrow and the potential to see him twice. I mean, granted, this defense is that good that they're the ones that put him out in the first place, right? I'm not saying that was a bounty gate thing, right? Like, but this defense was tearing cats up. Who knows? Maybe the Bengals will finally learn to protect this dude.
You think, right?
But I'll say this. By the way, a further reason for a good acquisition by the Titans there, because being used to having minimal protection assets with pretty good skill assets, perfect fit in my
eyes. All right. Next team here, Detroit Lions. Again, they I think they were 12-5 this year. Won the NFC North. Again, made to the conference championship game, and they were literally 30 minutes away from playing this week in Vegas, and then that second half happened.
Well, and it's not like they were out of the game late either. Granted, that you could argue they let the Niners back in the game, but just as the Niners were let back in, they too clawed their way back, right? I mean, Brock Purdy obviously had an opening half that was questionable. They missed a pretty easy field goal, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong about the distance there. It might have been a 40-yarder. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But I'm not inclined to penalize the Lions for blowing the game such that they did. And for all the people criticizing Matt Campbell for the missed field goal opportunities to put more points on the board. Honestly, I'm only mad about one of them. The opportunity he had to go back up 3 scores, that was the mistake. The other one, I could take or leave. But yeah, I'm going to go A+ for the Lions.
I'm there too.
I'm going to the championship. I had them only winning 9 wins and squeaking to a North Division victory. 12 wins is fantastic. I don't care. Even if it is in the awful NFC North and NFC Conference, that's still fantastic work. They did get a fortunate path in that they had to only battle the Bucs in the playoff. I shouldn't say only the Bucs, but like they had to battle. They had to beat the Bucs in that round to get to the championship. So
they've had the Rams though. They've had the Rams the first round though.
Right. I think beating the Rams is more impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, beating the Rams were a team that got hot late. They had all the strengths to the weaknesses of the Lions, and they found a way. They got matched up. Like I said, they were fortunate enough to be matched with the Bucs in the second round. I think that's kind of a play as to why they got to the championship, but nonetheless, business was handled by Matt Campbell and they were damn close to make it to the Super Bowl. I just don't see how you don't give this team an A+.
No, I'm with you 100%. And beat a red hot Rams team that people are talking about like maybe being a dark horse, coming into the playoffs. No, this Lions team is great. What was that?
A playoff dark horse. Yeah. I mean, securing the tiebreaker on Seattle by a single point, 17-16 is huge. There.
Mm-hmm. I guess my question for you with Detroit going forward is this window, because NFC is not that impressive. Let's be real here. I feel like I'll be honest with you. If you would ask right now, who has a better chance of getting back to this spot next year, Conference Championship Sunday next year, Detroit or Baltimore? I'll be honest with you. I have to lean Detroit.
Only because it's an easier conference.
There you go.
Where you're going.
There you go.
I don't really know how much the Ravens are actually losing. I would really need to check the defensive side. That's where I
see that. Yeah.
But everybody else, I mean, Lamar's already paid, so that's the thing. Offensively, you have to worry about. Zay Flowers is still a rookie.
Yeah. Got time with that one.
Odell Beckham Jr. Like, I don't know his contract situation.
No, he's a free agent already. He's only 1 year deal. So
okay, so yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he was a rental. So I mean, that might give them an opportunity to draft well in this class. Which I mean, okay,
so far so good.
They get Zay Flowers too, but again, the defense is the issue there. With Detroit, this team is younger across the board.
Mm-hmm.
The only team that's younger, obviously, is the Packers. So yeah, I can see where you're going with Detroit having the better chance to return,
at least in the immediate
on paper. Right.
Like I said, Green Bay should be better next year, especially with what they did this late in the year.
I don't know. Let's see with that. I'm still waiting to see. I won't be confident in Green Bay being a lock in the North until we see some action from 24, because the table is set for a air quotes sophomore, and I say air quotes sophomore because Jordan is like in year 57 because he waited so long behind Rodgers.
Right.
But that's the way they used to do it too. I'm not criticizing that. But yeah, let's see. Jordan Love is good enough to show potential improvement, but is Favrean enough to also continue to commit murders against potential victories. So,
I like that. That was good. All right, let's talk legacies here. We got two teams here. Obviously in the Super Bowl, we have the Chiefs, the Niners. I feel like we saw this before recently. I feel like we saw this matchup like once 3 years ago, 4 years ago, what the hell it was.
Yeah.
Let's talk legacies real quick, though.
By the way, you damn near saw it last year, except Brock Purdy got hurt, and I don't see Matthew Muehlheisen running his mouth the same about it no more. But
that's true.
Talk about that.
That's true. More on that later. Pat Mahomes.
So Sirianni.
It's so exactly. Patrick Mahomes. This is what
that would be Patrick Mahomes the second.
Yeah. This is his fourth Super Bowl appearance in 6 years as starter. Yeah.
Super Bowl should have been his fifth, but Ford screwed that all up.
Good job, D Ford. A win this week does what for his legacy, Kyle? What do you have him now? And what do you have him as a winning this year, winning this Super Bowl this year? What changes with the Mahomes narrative for you?
Mm-hmm. Okay, are we clear?
There he's there at that point, or is that just like closer to that?
And here's the problem, right? And people hate it when you compare the LeBron James Jordan argument to quarterbacks in football, right? Now, nothing. I'm safe in saying I feel like nothing will supplant Brady with the longevity conversation, but I never really felt like Brady was the GOAT. Okay. For all
to be fair, you made that clear in this podcast for the last 12 years. So,
yeah, and there were times where you were compelled beyond a reason. You even had Russell Baxter on this podcast agreeing with me, pointing out some of his playoff shorthand and shortcomings and shortfalls.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the past 2 years, when the Chiefs were supposed to struggle, I shouldn't say the past two, but this and last year, where the Chiefs were supposed to be on a downturn.
The sneaky, what we call it, sneaky rebuilds.
I mean, you could use that term, frisky rebuilds, if you. I don't know. Right. I don't know that we coined the term. Like, listen, it's parting the Reid Sea. See what I did there?
Yes.
The Red Sea, even because it's the Chiefs, right? You're supposed to fail, and now you're back-to-back Super Bowl attendees. Now, granted, does Patrick Mahomes II have great coaching and some fantastic pieces to help him? Absolutely. But far fewer than Thomas Edward Patrick Bieber Brady does in his career, right? I can name okay, let me place you a bet without looking it up.
Okay.
$50. I can name 10 Hall of Famers in Tom Brady's roster. Do you think I could pull it off?
Yeah, I think you could.
Okay.
And
Are
not
there 5 Hall of Famers that Patrick Mahomes II has played with?
Yeah, so I can do that.
Really?
5?
Not
Well,
including Patrick, right? So Travis Michael Kelce, and assuming Tyreek Hill gets the respect he does, he'll eventually
right.
get. Chris Jones, who else? That's my point. The fact that you have to think that hard to even get to a 4th potential Pro Bowler surrounding
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Mahomes II makes my point.
So Brady would have, for example,
number 4 is Andy Reid, right?
right. I was going to say that, but we're not counting players there, of course. No, you're right. Brady will have Moss. Welker's not a Hall of Famer. That's because
I think
lack of longevity. I think hurts his case there. But
okay, take him off the table. He'll have at least 2 offensive line Hall of Famers, right?
he already has. I mean, Brady already has a couple already in there. Seymour and
No, I said offensive line. Stop ruining the fucking.
Oh, sorry. I was throwing names out in general.
And by the way, he's already, to your point, gotten defensive Hall of Famers in.
Right.
Okay, that's the part everybody keeps forgetting about.
I've been saying for a while now with the Mahomes thing in the GOAT conversation that it's not
technically.
Yeah, it's not going to require 7 rings for me to pull the trigger on that one.
The only thing that the Brady supporters would have on their side is the rings crap, which is the
rings thing and the longevity thing. That is it.
That's where I was going. It's hard to deny him doing what he did for as long as he did it, but please remember there's a decade-long lull in there. Now,
you're welcome.
Huh?
You're welcome.
What do you mean by you're welcome?
Yeah, Eli was part of that lull.
Oh, well, okay, sure. Sorry, I thought there was a Giants fan on this panel.
Yeah, hello, how you doing?
Let
me reintroduce myself.
Yeah, by the way, you mentioned Eli. That's adorable. If you really want to give proper credit, one of your kids should actually be named Michael. But then you didn't want to jinx him having the same gap in the teeth that you both do. So, that defensive line had more to do with it than anything does. By the way, would have loved your second child to be named Mario instead of Logan, because everybody seems to forget the second catch that Eli
Manningham,
a literal perfect pass.
I've always given credit to the defense for the first one, but Eli shredded that second one. To me, that playoff run he did in the second one was phenomenal.
That Mario Manningham catch
was amazing. That throw was great too. Also, to put around those numbers there,
perfect, literal perfect throw.
Yeah,
like we can have this conversation in another pod at some point in the offseason. Bing! But more perfect catch Mario Manningham or Santonio Holmes from Roethlisberger against the Cards in that Super Bowl.
Manningham, because Manningham did it, and it was also he was drawing contact too, also in the same play. Holmes pretty much was in the back of the end zone.
Right,
it wasn't going to face a hit. It's about him just making a catch.
But there were more logistical limitations in the back of the end zone and being in the corner of the field. And that's why it's worth a conversation. I'm just throwing that out there. But
Super Bowl memories, man, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I think
we're so lucky.
We see some great ones last
decade and a half.
Do you remember a time? You and I are the same age. Do you remember a time?
How many close Super Bowls have there been, like, before the year 2000? There ain't been many.
Name him any. And that's my point, though. You and I are about the same age. We come from an era where Super Bowls, from a good chunk of Super Bowls between let's go back to 1983, 84, through the late 90s, most are blowouts. Yeah, you'll get the Bills Giants close one here. You'll get the Bengals Niners second one close one here. You get a random one here that's kind of competitive. But most Super Bowls in that 14-year span, especially at the time when the NFC was dominating it, was it 13 years in a row they won Super Bowls in a row?
Yeah,
13 years straight.
Right.
Yeah, before the Bengals won, on the Broncos won in 98. Those are all. The Super Bowls was so boring. Let's say boring. Non-competitive
spectacle. I think you would be wise to go back to Hilarity by Default and check out the Sports Symposium playlist and watch the Super Bowl episode that we did. That it kind of explains this anomaly.
Yeah, and these kids here now in the last 20 years,
I'll tell you, EJ Christian.
Yeah, they've gotten a bang for the buck now. These Super Bowls have been phenomenal. Seahawks, Patriots, Giants, Patriots twice.
There was a blowout or two in there, but I think other than Broncos, Seahawks,
that's it.
I can't think of another one where got dismantled.
Bucks and Chiefs, that's it. Really, last one.
That was a blowout, but they weren't really dismantled early. And by the way, injuries had more to do with that than anything else.
Right. So they've gotten this generation's gotten spoiled with Super Bowls. I want to hear it. You guys gotten spoiled.
By the way, this is also proof of the parity that we've come to know and love.
Yeah. Speaking of legacies, there, staying on the Chiefs side, Andy Reid. He wins the third ring of this team. What does this do with him?
I mean, so everybody's going to default GOAT Belichick when he retires. I think that's going to happen, especially if and when he does eventually coach, which I'm sure more on that later. But I think the default and de facto next man up for the GOAT conversation will be Andy Reid. I think his health is the only thing that will limit his time with Patrick Mahomes II. And his health is so significant an issue that every year you get retirement hubbub, know, and whispers. I think the statement he made, or allegedly, he said to Patrick Mahomes II was that his intention was to remain through the life of Mahomes' contract, which is now in its second year, right? So 8 years at least, theoretically, provided his health plays along.
Right. I feel the same way about Andy Reid. I feel the same way about Mahomes. I don't think it requires 6 to get to the GOAT status.
I don't agree. I think it's a little different where you're a coach and you have more control of everything going on. And you'll agree, coaches are more heavily weighed by the hardware they bring home.
Yeah.
Like this is why I constantly say that Phil Jackson is overrated as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
People forget that he had literally two of the best lineups in NBA history under his tenure. Did he do a great job managing personalities? You're damn right. Is he the best NBA coach? The triangle offense is not a complicated offense. You just got to have the actual talent to run it correctly, okay? You're not going to run that shit with John Paxson, Tony Kukoc, and Luke Longley and win championships. No.
Yeah.
You need guys that are better than that,
Yeah.
Or who's maybe like, what is it? Rick Fox, Robert Ory, and Paul Gasol, as good a player as Gasol is and completely underrated, is not going to win you an NBA championship. Hashtag Barry Brown actual note. I said it.
Unique. Ooh, that's a conversation.
What can I say except you're welcome?
I like it. It's off-season fodder, maybe. We'll see. My thing is, I think this is what hurts Belichick. Everything, and I'm not. I look, and I don't fall in this category of the people's like, oh well, Brady, da 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 da. But the fact of the matter is,
not anymore.
Andy Reid can say, well, look, I won a Super Bowl, but I at least say I've won outside of Mahomes. I've gone to Super Bowl without Mahomes.
The coaching answer to LeBron James, 100%.
Right. Yeah, so I really say that he's had success outside of the Patrick Mahomes second era.
With Donovan McNabb,
who's okay, solid.
And well, right, yeah, he won't make the Hall of Fame, but he has an argument to get votes. Sure.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who before getting Terrell Owens and getting over the top, had Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X, that nobody remembers, and Todd Pinkston, who was regularly referred to by the national media members, specifically Michael Irvin, as Todd Stinkston, right?
Yeah.
And then hell, I don't remember what is that, the Selleck days, or am I too late?
Yeah, it was Selleck. Brent Selleck?
Yeah.
He was there. I know Selleck was there toward the end of his years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then where 3rd and 1 was the most intimidating thing because that team couldn't run the football with Brian Westbrook, right?
Right.
Like, Alvin Kamara before Alvin Kamara was cool, right?
Yeah.
But which people still aren't making enough noise about how Andy Reid ran the football on the Bills 3 weeks ago, but that's another question.
Yeah. So I feel like, okay, I see your point there, but I feel like he gets 4. I'm not against that conversation and say, yeah, he's probably the GOAT. But I see what the pushback is. The thing is, though, if we're gonna weigh hardware as such a big,
How many Super Bowls has Bill gone to?
Gone to?
Yes.
9.
Okay. I think Andy Reid will have to get closer to that conversation to get to 9, to get his number closer to 9, at least 9 attended, before we could really go. And he's not far off.
This is his 5th appearance.
Right.
So
let's say he gets to 2 more. I think he needs to get to at least 2 more before he'll actually be credible universally as a GOAT candidate.
Right. My own thing is that if we're going to start, if Harbaugh should definitely weigh the argument when it comes to coaches, why don't we give Joe Gibbs more credit? Why don't we give guys like that more credit? Joe Gibbs has won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, which I find even more impressive than anything else I've seen.
Well, you're giving me the Larry Brown argument, and I appreciate it.
Right.
Also, I think Joe Gibbs didn't do himself any favors by coming back and failing.
I mean, that should be held against him, though.
How much of that is linked to Elway rather than to him? It's people don't give George Shepherd credit for winning a Super Bowl with the Niners, right? He may be a great coach, but they don't associate
Shepherd won 2 with the Niners for the record. That is 1.
Right, actually, yeah.
2.
But that's
he won the back end. Walsh won, and he won the one with Steve Young.
Yeah, I forgot that was him that was there. You're absolutely
right.
But the punchline's this, buddy. Nobody thinks of those as Seifert Super Bowls, right? Yeah, and I'm just talking trash on Coach Seifert. That's not what I'm going for. I'm saying he's not seen as that mastermind coach to get that done, right?
I get it.
So
I get it. No, I get it.
Not the same just to give something pro Patriots. I'll give Bill all the credit in the world for getting the best that you could out of Randy Moss as an older player, as an egotistical player, as a guy who has been dubbed difficult to work with, even as a broadcaster, by the way. So,
how annoyed are you with the Brock Purdy narrative as a Niner fan?
What narrative specifically?
Well, there's a lot of narratives like he's pretty. Some people think he's an elite quarterback already. Some people think he's not that guy. There's certain people in the media or new media, should I say, that are a little more critical of Brock Purdy. I want to play a clip real quick before we get to this conversation. Cam Newton, former MVP, former Super Bowl quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, has been weighing in on Brock Purdy for weeks upon weeks now. And here's his latest comments on Brock Purdy post NFC title game.
I've never said that Brock Purdy was trash. What I did say is Brock Purdy is a game manager. That's not hate. That's just what I feel to be facts. But I still reserve the right to say this. To be labeled a game changer, Brock Purdy has to be the best player on the offensive side of the ball. And that's not the case.
And who's the best player?
Christian McCaffrey. Man, look, I ain't recanting And if you really want to just be honest, if you add in the defensive talent and you add in the offensive talent, Brock Purdy is the 10th best player on this team. Okay, cool. Did he have a great game? Yes. Is he been playing out of his mind? Yes. Is he a quarterback that's hot? Yes. But he's still the 10th best player on his team.
I don't know if I'll go that far with the end of what he said with the 10th best player part on the team, but I do agree with him with the fact that he is not the best player on that team, or even outside the ball. I mean, first off, you and I already agree is not just Christian McCaffrey, it's Trent Williams. Let's go there. But he's not wrong. Where he lost me was the whole 10th best player bit.
Which I think it's adorable, by the way, that you present the narrative as if Trent Williams was an idea you gave me. That's fucking adorable. I know you didn't do that. I'm making you joke. But listen, I mean, obviously, as somebody who has constantly been in the Christian McCaffrey is the actual MVP of the league conversation, but we'll never get it because he'll split votes with Brock and it'll inevitably fall to Lamar Demetrius Jackson. Cool. 10th? Really? Listen, their defense is good, but it ain't anyone in their secondary that's surpassing Brock Purdy. I know that shit, right? If you want to say both Greenwald and Fred Warner, okay. Who else you got? Bosa? Has he played enough to get that? Or are you talking about just in terms of pure talent? Okay, fine. There's 3 defensive players who one could argue are air quotes better than Brock. Offensively, who you got?
Yeah.
Trent Williams? Okay. Christian McCaffrey? Okay. Are you saying Kittle is better than Brock? Maybe. But beyond that, I would stop there. Debo is not better than Brock. I said it. Debo is a gadget guy that has a lot of uses. I wouldn't say he's most talented. Here's the best way, and I really wish I could have a conversation with Cam Newton because I think this is what he would agree with. Also as a guy, by the way, there's a little bit of bitterness in a top overall pick, having never won a Super Bowl, come after Mr. Irrelevant being successful. I don't mean to be an armchair psychologist, but that shit's a factor. So let's start there. And I'm not mad at him for it, but perspective is a thing.
By the way, side note, Trent Williams does not have a middle name. His nickname is Silverback.
That's friggin' awesome.
It's a nickname Silverback named after a male gorilla. He has a large gorilla tattoo on his back.
I know what a Silverback is. That's still awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool actually. But he has no middle name.
Fascinating. So yeah, we'll have to bring that to the committee because should the Niners win, we will probably have to have a 3-name ceremony for that man. But
you should have it now, in my opinion.
Hey, shut your face. All right, I'm answering your goddamn question. So, but like whether it's Cam Newton or Nick Wright, I think their problem isn't that they're saying Brock Purdy is bad. They just keep doubling down and doubling down and doubling down, especially in Nick Wright's case. The whole fucking season he's been down on Purdy. By the way, I'm glad you bring this up on your show so I could use naughty words. But I think the answer is this. Think of any quarterback. Name one off the top of your head. Hey, if he had proper surroundings, he would win a Super Bowl. Name it. Who? First quarterback.
Lamar Jackson.
Bullshit.
Oh, I mean, all timers right now.
No. A quarterback who was this close to success, who you've constantly, who if you said, hey, if he had X, he would have gotten a Super Bowl. And that ain't Lamar Demetrius Jackson. Just
if we're going like all time, my guy
Tony Romo, maybe.
I was going to say that. That's what I was going to say.
Exactly. Brock Purdy is that. He's got those surroundings. If I put Tony Romo in there, for example, he gets a Super Bowl. Brock Purdy is the guy that got that if he had stuff onto his roster, and he's doing. That's the best way, in my opinion, to assess Brock Purdy is he's the quarterback that got all the stuff around him. And by the way, I can't tell if Cam Newton is using game manager as a slur, but it sure as hell sounded like it to me. And that's just another thing. That's probably the biggest beef, even more than the 10th player, because, you know, any top 10 list is subjective as hell. He could probably make a pretty good argument for putting Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, even Kyle Juszczyk as being better at their position than Brock Purdy. I wouldn't agree with it, but he could probably make a good argument.
I don't agree with that myself.
What's that?
I don't agree with him on the whole 10 plus player thing.
Right.
Honestly.
But the punchline's this. The game manager as a slur is a worse offense than that 10th player conversation.
Is it? Okay. Interesting. I do agree with this. I do agree with the assessment, though, of separating what is a game manager versus a game changer.
Oh, and he's got it wrong there, too.
You got it wrong there, too. Interesting.
because you're going to tell me that Brock Purdy didn't change that damn game?
That's what I'm saying. That fourth quarter and what he did outside of out the pocket and with his legs.
Final point, the assumption's made, too, that he still doesn't keep getting better. This is his second year. What are we doing here?
Yeah. I think we could be critical but not be overcritical.
No. Being critical is not the same as overdoing that shit.
Right, yeah.
Critical is not the same as not having a proper context. Being critical is not saying a player in George Kittle who's been playing for damn near 10 seasons, a player like Trent Williams who has played 10 seasons is better than They're supposed to be, damn it.
I think a lot of people are still stuck on the 3-game losing streak this year. That when they lost Trent, they lost McCaffrey, and his play went to shit.
They're stuck on the 3-game losing streak. Not enough people are talking about it being linked to Trent Williams, but I digress.
Right.
People were actually that worried about Deebo Samuel being limited in this game. Cool story, bro.
Is it wrong to ask you who you like in this game? I know we do predictions on your show. I don't want to
use this moment to tease the Student of the Game podcast.
You can do so.
Also, too, we can tease both our picks for the Huddle Up podcast as well. Bing! So
I'm leaning Chiefs. But I don't.
I reserve the right to change my mind because
the Niners are the better team. Let's be clear about it. They're the better team.
What do you mean that? What do you mean better roster?
Better roster. Yeah, it's the Niners. Not even close. It's just that you have that other guy.
Yeah.
That other guy's pretty fucking good.
By the way, the weakness of your good defense, if you're the 49ers, is your secondary.
Yeah. It's going to be a problem. For the record, Casey's O-line, very underrated for the record. No one talks about that a lot.
No, they're not. They're terrible.
You think they're terrible?
They're absolute. At the tackles, they're terrible.
Interesting.
Their interior line, effing awesome.
Yeah, Mahomes even better than we thought then. If you're saying that.
But I mean, look at some of the adjustments, right? A lot more quick passes.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Lavon Mahomes II has gone less to the outside. He's less confident to roll out. By the way, please, again, let me remind you how much they ran the damn football.
Mm-hmm. Commitment.
More successfully with the Bills, obviously. Yep. But they ran the ball twice as much than the Ravens did in the championship game. And everybody's forgetting about that shit.
Yeah. All right, let's get some couple of news and notes that we missed in the last 2 weeks since we last spoke on this podcast. Jim Harbaugh, he's back in the NFL. He's a new coach of the LA Chargers. I'm pretty excited about this shit. I really am.
Culture reset. I think the only problem he really has is the salary cap's an absolute mess.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I didn't see that.
He's going to have to having Justin Herbert is great. As the quarterback who throughout the 4 years of his career has thrown in volume more passes than any other quarterback in the league. Look that shit up. He's asked to do entirely too much, right? By the way, you even have Austin Eckler in the backfield, and that's still true. What are we doing? But I would suspect that you see him doing rebuild and free agency acquisition and draft moves, mostly draft moves, again, because their cap situation is hell. Khalil Mack, their biggest, factor on defense, I think is the biggest cap impact. I'd have to look it up, but he's a problem. I think you have Herbert on the rookie contract one more year. So,
no. He's like, well, right. But
they already paid him.
He got the extension this past year.
They already paid him. That was a stupid.
But I don't know if that's in effect yet.
No, I believe it is actually. But
okay.
Bosa is not worth the time he's on the field because he gets hurt a lot, right?
Right.
And Derwin James is paid like a top safety and isn't quite there. But and their two receivers was Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They're both, I think, combined, they're just an astronomical number. One of them has to go. And there's just an absolute mess. They need to reboot that. And by the way, one of their offensive linemen, I think it's Lindsey, is a stupid high number too. So long of the short, the draft is going to have to be huge if you want the Chargers to do well this season. I still think maybe they're a wild card threat at best.
Yeah.
But let's see where Harbaugh gets them in year 2 before we start. So
the good news is that, first off, this will be the best quarterback he's ever had off the rip. Think about the quarterback he's had better than Justin Herbert, at least talent wise.
College,
College too.
You think he's more than Andrew Luck? I don't.
Oh yeah, Andrew Luck. I forgot about that. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Okay, fine. Herbert number 2.
Okay, cool. I'm with you.
Okay, Herbert. So yeah, I think once you have the quarterback in place, which you do have right now currently, I saw a top 10 guy that makes things easier. Okay, fine. We have the quarterback. Cool. Now we can work around that instead of having to find a quarterback.
When your salary is what it is, that's the problem.
I got to trust in Harbaugh, man. He everywhere he goes, he wins. So I trust him.
I'm more than happy to be proven wrong on that.
Yeah. And maybe a little bit to turn around, maybe a little bit more slower than it was in San Francisco because of the contract situations and all that stuff. Although I will say they do have a lot of talent on that team still.
There were a lot of young players in that Niners team.
Another thing that we saw, Bill Belichick did not get a job. The Atlanta job did not go to him. Went to Raheem Morris. Mike Vrabel also not hired. So now that every coaching job is filled now. Dan Quinn got the Washington job, of course. Your thoughts on Belichick and Vrabel not being employed for 2024?
I was surprised until I remembered something we said on this very podcast, the Student Game Report on Earnestly Speaking. The reason we speculate that Bill isn't a Patriots coach anymore is because he wanted too much power. And if you look at his track record drafting the past 7 years and he asks for that power, why the hell would you give it to him? Especially the only reason it is believed heavily that he is still coaching is to get the record, the wins record, right?
Right.
The Shula record.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
So he's not committed like you'd like, and he sucks at drafting, which he's going to insist on doing. What's the motivation?
I mean, yeah, and the age on top of it too. The age is another factor too. Like
age. Listen, if Seattle could keep having Pete Carroll at 72, do Pete Carroll things, they'd be fine.
True. No, I do think there's something to be said that maybe it's best he waits a year. Let the stink of the Patriots.
So you're going to say the age, and then the very next sentence is he should wait a year. I mean,
well, no. My point is this: I think there'll be possibly better jobs to get next year, with the assumption that certain teams don't meet expectations. Buffalo, Philadelphia, for example.
When Sirianni gets fired, you have to believe
that's a job.
He and Howie Roseman together is
correct
at the very least.
Even the Buffalo Bills, I can see if McDermott this fails next year.
I don't think that one works out. I think he and Josh Allen butt heads, and Allen would then shrivel.
And then there's always the Dallas Cowboys part also too. If we still
that
believe
is
that
also
Dallas
incredibly intriguing as well, especially with statements made by Jerry Jones. He was asked if he and Belichick could work together, and he very curiously, he didn't just confirm it; he confirmed it in a very telling manner, shall we say?
Right. You see this report about Mike Vrabel though. Mike Vrabel supposedly there's a report came out in the Athletic yesterday that said that Diana Rossini said this, and she's pretty credible reporter. That basically that Vrabel's large physical build played a factor in him not getting a new position.
I mean,
being a big guy, of course, and
by Vrabel's build, you already suck at your job, in my opinion. Which it would not be surprising if Atlanta was the team that reportedly said that.
I mean, first off, we just watched Dan Campbell take this Lions team to the brink of a Super Bowl.
Legit.
What the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, good point, EJ Christian. Well, what we're doing is exposing how dumb some of these franchises are, is what's happening here. For my money, Vrabel being out this year. Okay, I put this in your pipe. I think you'll dig this.
Yep.
The Bears have shown they're going to be dumb enough to hold on to Eberflus.
They're going to.
When that fails, what coach out there could make the Bears feel more like the Bears than Mike freaking Vrabel, bro?
That has like my thicker all over again. Right?
Right?
It writes itself.
You know,
No, I like that. I like that move.
They both fit the cadence, bro.
All right, one last thing to get you out of here. Eric Bieniemy, no job.
Yeah, I am an enemy of Eric not having a job. That is crap. I don't know what made him be enemy of the state. See, because he's in the nation's capital.
Of course. Yeah.
No, what raging idiot would do that? I don't understand.
I feel like there's more issues. I think I've heard through the years that there's been some like issues, like personal issues from years back that hold teams back from possibly giving the green light.
He's dubbed as unpersonable. Now, granted, when I spoke to him 2 years ago in L.A., or I guess that's 3 years ago now, in L.A., couldn't be a nicer dude. But then we heard reports out of camp when he arrived in D.C. that he was less than charming. He is, I think, let's say if there were any Giants fans in the sound of my voice, I would say,
calm down.
There were Coughlin comparison. It would be a good comparison to how he turned off players with how hard he could be, right?
Right.
And notice, by the way, I purposely cross-racial line there to show it's not just
a race thing,
a racial aspect that could be a problem there.
Correct.
Right? It's if you go after players who feel entitled with big salaries and things like that, you know, not all of them are going to respond well. Your boy Shanahan, your boy Strahan didn't necessarily respond so great to Coughlin at first.
He
right?
was retired as a result of it.
I'm just saying. So I'm not sure. There are probably like Eric Bieniemy in Atlanta would be a fit in my mind. I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
But he would specifically work for a franchise that needs a kick in the butt. But for a guy that's also coached and won Super Bowls, do you want to go back to coaching a Bad News Bears-esque team?
And I'll be honest with you, I think his best opportunity to get a coaching job is pretty much gone now. I think because like more years removed from Mahomes, I think people are like, okay, whatever it is, what it is. I just don't see him at this point getting a head coaching job. If he's going to get one, he would have gotten one last year.
I don't agree. Now, granted, I will tell you that I'm apparently a big whiff. I thought he was the coach in waiting. I thought it was a lock. And then they go and bring in Dan Quinn.
Make that make sense. I don't understand that. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad coach, but come on.
There's a defense for him being potentially a good coach. He's done some things in the past that were impressive.
Dan Quinn?
Granted, yeah.
He went to a Super Bowl. He went to a Super Bowl.
Okay. When was that?
2017.
Okay. It's been a while, is what you're telling me.
I mean, he got fired 2 years later, but I mean, the Frog-Ons are the Frog-Ons. We know how that goes.
Well, right, exactly. And really, that's the thing. If you're trying to give me Dan Quinn and the Falcons defense.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which produced Vic Beasley, who was one and done, ended up playing in the XFL this past year. Right? That team, that defense fell entirely apart after that season. And that happened on his watch. Want to know what else happened on his watch?
What's that? Jordan
Love wrecking the Cowboys. And that defense falling apart doing it.
That was not a good look.
Okay?
It's not a good look.
And I guess there's an argument to be made that he's not a bad coach. I'm not here to say that Dan Quinn is a bad coach. I'm not saying he's necessarily a bad hire. Wouldn't have been my choice, especially when, now granted at the time Eric Bieniemy wasn't available, but you're going to tell me that Eric Bieniemy was a worse candidate than Dan Quinn? I can't get there.
I'm with you.
And then can you imagine Eric Bieniemy and Cliff Kingsbury working together? I think that would be a fantastic offense. Now, granted, they need to do something about Sam Howell, but watch these dummies go ahead and draft Drake May.
That's a boy.
Stop,
boy. Kyle, after 2 weeks, it's been a pleasure.
Hey, man. Yeah, good convo over and above. Check out our Super Bowl picks when we record with the Huddle Up podcast. Of course, on the Student of the Game pod, Earnest Christian. Look out for me talking to my guy, Brian Paul, BP of A7BN. It's getting to be a bit of a custom having BP on as he is a Chiefs fan. But Yeah, look out for him coming on the Super Bowl preview edition of the Student of the Game during the week here. But an honor, joy, and privilege, Earnest Christian. I'm Kyle Nash, the Student of the Game. Find me on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram. The SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the Student of the Game, and of course, find my work with the 3-point conversion, the Black and Gold Banneret, and the Jaguar Report. All of the above. Of course, my work as well with A7BN Sports covering the Magic. By the way, Scott Van Pelt at UCF's Edition Financial Arena as they take care of business here this past weekend.
Oh,
Fear the Fraud, DJ Christian. I'll be in the building, not this week, but the following week, February 17th, covering UCF men's basketball, and of course the women again very shortly as well. But with all that in mind, my friends, an honor, joy, and privilege. Class dismissed.
Thank you.